BBC Radio Manchester and BBC Radio Lancashire.
The time now, it's 7:34. Now, a Lancashire filmmaker has just finished his feature-length film, Tide of Lies. It's been created by Shemin Balachandran Nair, and the last time we spoke to him, he was talking about the Malayalam New Year and how it's celebrated in Kerala. But I'm pleased to say Shemin is with me to talk about his film, which has been shot in India and the UK. Welcome to the programme. How are you?
Thank you very much. It feels great to be here back in here.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Almost like 2 years now.
Has it been 2 years? Wow. So the last time we spoke, you were off down south to study film. So what happened since?
I joined University of Bournemouth. I got transferred from University of Salford to Bournemouth as my supervisor moved in there. And he again got a transfer. He joined University of Central Lancashire, so I just moved along with him because I found him as the best supervisor for my topic.
Right, okay, I see. Yeah. So what's been happening since then, that time that you moved to Lancashire?
There has been much happening, I think, been to Bournemouth. I was done a lot of work being there. I was associated with University of Bournemouth and did a couple of documentaries, short documentaries, travelled around doing some work for the university, work for some brands. I mean, much creative there. And later I moved back to Lancashire, back to Preston. And since it's my final year of PhD, then life was much busy based on the research and making my feature film, because my feature film is also connected to my research. It's a practical outcome of my research.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your PhD and what you're studying basically.
My PhD is in Indian transcendentalism in cinema.
Right.
Which
sounds like a mouthful, that, doesn't
it? Exactly. A very confusing term, but it's.
So what does that mean exactly?
Transcendentalism has some various dimensions, but what I am trying to do is the spiritual aspects of transcendentalism, which is purely based on the Indian way of looking into it, which is very spiritual and very artistic and very vibrant and colourful, which is in a way associated to the socio-cultural premises of India. So trying to explore in a way that how it is manifested in the Indian traditional arts, and also analysing why the Indian cinema in a way have a disconnect to the true traditions of the Indian spirituality, and developing a narrative how we could reconnect, developing a narrative how to reconnect this sense of transcendentalism in a cinematic form.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it in a practical way, that I'm developing a script, I'm making a film, and that's what it is now.
So are you saying there's a disconnect between the true spirituality of people and what we see in cinema at the moment? Is that
exactly? It's not just in cinema. Through my research, what I personally found is there are so many factors which I found, maybe the urbanization, or the invasion. So many factors have influenced the Indian society to develop a transformation from what it was in the yesteryears. Because most of if you look at the Indian life, it was very much connected to the rituals and traditions. Now we slowly it's not slowly, it's been years since we had this disconnect, which is, I think, which has to be reinitiated.
What is that due to?
I think, like I mentioned, so many factors like urbanization. I think it's a quite a pretty automatic thing that time causes to it. Invasions, as a lot of invasions happened in the Indian history. So many factors, and this modernization. Even the factors of media, everything. The life has changed.
Yeah, so life has changed, I suppose, and people's perceptions have changed as well, hasn't it? So you now have created a feature-length film called Tide of Lies. So tell us a bit about that.
Tide of Lies is a feature-length film which is a part of submission of my PhD. Also, I'm expecting to have it in the festivals as well. This film, when I say it's a part of research outcome, I look forward these things, how these things are manifested in the Indian traditional arts, and what transcendence does really mean to India, and how it is manifested in traditional arts. In particular, I have looked at an art form called as Theyyam, which is a ritual form we could particularly find in the northern Kerala. And there are like 180 different kind of Theyyams, which I interestingly found. But
what does that word actually mean?
Theyyam. The actual meaning of the word is Theyyam, which is a regional term for Deivam, which means God.
Okay.
So it is like a performer. He doesn't perform, but he transcends to God consciousness. That's what they say.
Right.
They transform to the state of a form of God, and they perform a vibrant kind of. We can't call it a dance, but it involves dance, music, percussions, and everything. And the thing is, when they perform, people worship them as God. Okay. So it's a kind of ritual and an art together. So in particular, I took like 2 Theyyams out of 180 Theyyams and try to understand what stories they're trying to tell. And I identify it's all about the state of oneness and how discrimination exists. And it's a way connected to casteism in India, like the upper caste and lower caste system, and the philosophy of Advaita, non-duality, is being communicated through that. So it's what I try to do is to pick up the philosophy, not the story, but the philosophy of it, and try to place it in a modern day context.
Right, and that's quite a challenge.
Exactly, it's a very urban modern day context.
Okay, well, Shemin, hold your thoughts there. What we're going to do is we're going to get the latest on the road situation in the northwest, and we'll come back to you after that.
BBC Radio Manchester and BBC Radio Lancashire.
Joining me in the studio, we have filmmaker Shemin Balachandran Nair, and we were talking about his new film, which he's just created, called The Tide of Lies. And we were talking about capturing the essence of, I suppose, philosophy of some of the thoughts that people have when it comes to faith. And let's expand a little bit more on that. So is that what you used for your film? So
it's an influence for my film, to be obvious. Like it's no way interpretation or retelling of the stories. That the 2 Theyyam what I have selected is Pottan Theyyam and Kanjamundi.
Could you explain those?
Yeah, Pottan Theyyam is a story where it's connected to the life of Shankaracharya, the saint, and it is a story like when Shankaracharya was on his way to the Sarvajñapidam, which is the throne of ultimate knowledge. Lord Shiva appeared in front of him in the form of Chandala, the downtrodden community person, and they had that was the time when untouchability was in practice, and they had a debate, and it is through that debate Shankaracharya realized there is no such thing called as discrimination or caste or something. Everybody is one. It is about the philosophy of oneness,
right?
But I'm no way connecting it to that.
That must be a challenge in itself. That belief, that there is this oneness.
Because
when you
the question the argument mainly what it says is, if I cut my body and your body, the color of the blood is same. Then how could you say that this sense of this thing exists? But when I take it to this, when the core idea, it's very universal. Discrimination, the sense of in a more urban context or modern day context, it might be the not the caste, it might be the color, skin color or whatever we say, but discrimination still exists in a universal level, and that creates a trauma. So my story is about brown girl adopted by British parents, and the film starts at a point where she is at her early 30s, and she just got separated from her husband, and she's having an abortion, and the film is seeking the reasons why these things happen, but her realizations are based on a sacrifice which her maid did to save her life. So it's all in a way connected to the introspective of a person and realizing, and how she come across the sense of, obviously being a brown girl to white parents, she might have faced a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So
is this set?
Yeah.
Is this shot in the UK then, or is this?
It's shot in UK, and the scenes in India, it is like, as I said, the maid has made a sacrifice to her life, and when she look at her, she came to know that she has a daughter, and this woman is going to, in search of this daughter, and yeah, that's what those are the scenes which are shot in India. And how does this little girl influence this? The main character of the film, Maria. So that's what the film is all about, and she comes back to the UK, and
right, okay. So
whether any changes happen or not, whether she transcends or not, what sort of transcendence does she experience? That's all about it.
So how, as a filmmaker, do you add these elements into the film? That must be quite difficult, and you must have a good actress to be able to grasp what you're saying.
Exactly, the actress was pretty much brilliant. She did a brilliant job. It was played by a Sri Lankan born actress. Her name is Priya, and she did a brilliant job. Also, the character of maid was played by Bubbly, and so many other characters, like the little girl, Kerala girl, played the role. And
how much of a challenge was it for you, though, as a filmmaker?
It was a very challenging thing, because we worked with a very small crew in the UK, like 3 or 4 people in the sets. Right. That's all we had. Just me, my recordist, and 2 assistants. And most of the times, I was explaining to him, like, telling to my friends, I often, roll the camera and I myself go and do the clap and come back and, say action.
So with a limited budget, you managed
with a limited budget. But back in India, I operated with a pretty big crew, like 20-25 people in a crew, because I'm an academic as well, so I have my students there. And
right.
So it was like, working on the contrast, like here, in a very limited. I have very little knowledge about the locations. That was the main challenge I experienced. I want to set up the mise en scene where I want to tell the story, but I was not very much aware of the location. So it was like even finding the locations was one of the most challenging thing, because when we go somewhere and it's like we can't. How a lot of controls and restrictions in here for the creative person to work on. But
And finally, Shemin, so this film, is this going to be available for the public to see, or will it be at film festivals?
Primarily at film festivals, because I don't want to categorize it, but still I want it to be for the serious kinds of audience. And so my first attempt is like submission for my PhD, and then it's for the film festivals. But I'm also trying to get it available online, so that I get a better reach, and so many a lot of people could enjoy it. And so I might, if some online platforms are ready to get it, then yes, of course, it will be available online at some point.
And finally, what's next for you then after this?
I'm trying for a postdoctoral.
Right.
I don't know. I'm trying to set up an institution back in India, like where a creative, integral hub for all creative arts. That's my ultimate aim, which I'm working forward. So my life would be a balance of film academics and the production, because I believe it's intertwined. So
that it is indeed. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and good luck with the film and all that you do. It's been a pleasure speaking to you again, Shemin. The last time you came in, you also dressed in a lungi as well, showing your traditional costume.
Munda, it is called Munda, the white.
Yes, that's it, the white one. I couldn't remember the exact name for it. But thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me in here.
You're most welcome. Thank you.